Okay, today we are continuing on with the sixth chapter, that is program governance. And we, out of the three topics, we have covered one. And today we are going to be talking about the program governance roles and then how to design and implement them.
Even 6.2 program governance roles, we have gone through it. Last 6.2.6 other stakeholders, we stopped it.
Okay. I'm sorry. Six point 2.6.
Yes. Am I right, Hashim?
Yes.
2.
Specialist responsible.
Portfolio manager. Okay.
6.2.6.
Yeah, topic operational.
Here,
Operational,
yes.
no, operational we did not
Correct.
discuss. We did not
Yes,
discuss.
yes.
We did not cover it. Okay. So our job is much simpler than operational managers. Naturally, operational manager is a secondary role. This is included in the other stakeholders. We did talk about the core stakeholders and the interaction what they we need to have with basically the sponsor and the steering committee and the program manager himself, the project manager. We have discussed all that. So as far as the operational managers are concerned, when the program delivers a capability to the organization, naturally that capability is ultimately going to be used by the operational managers. The expected and potential benefit can only be realized when the organization is prepared to integrate the capability into its operations. So there comes the role of a professional manager who is generally responsible for receiving and integrating the capabilities delivered by other program components for achieving desired organizational benefits. For that matter, we would say that this is the person who is the beneficiary of the benefits being realized by the program, or he is the person, operational manager, who is going to take over the benefits, sustain the benefits over time, and ultimately yield more further benefit from it. I'm switching off your mics. There's little noise there. Okay, this integration initially often leads to disruption and over the longer period a steady state that is different from the previous environment. Naturally, when we deliver this benefit, there is some change in the way of working in the organization. Naturally, we have already talked about that projects drive change, and naturally programs are much bigger than that. They are realizing the benefits and ultimately meeting some kind of a strategy. It is therefore important to the success of the organization and the program that the capability is integrated effectively. So transition and sustainment, this is actually going to be happening at the program, at the operations manager level. So how should they behave? Operation manager is supported by individuals assigned the role to manage this change. Such individuals can be the sponsor representative from the receiving business area, program manager, project manager, and in many cases, specialist, as we discussed earlier, in managing business change. This role has governance implications as it informs and performs the governance practices described in section 6.1 in the previous section which we covered already. Typically, the individual in this role will be supported by a team from the corresponding business area. So this is much simpler a role. Then we have other roles. This includes other stakeholders that may include the risk specialist, the buyer, the contractor, or maybe there is someone who is ultimately going to take over, not within our organization, but outside of our organization, our customer is going to take over the benefits. So again, in that case, those benefits have to be transmitted to them. So all of these people will have a number of roles there, and naturally they are minor roles, and that is not really much of the concern. But as far as the governance is concerned, the key roles were the program sponsor, program steering committee, program manager, his project managers, and his other component managers. Right. Coming over to the very last topic of this chapter, that is program governance, design and implementation. How should you design it? Okay, yesterday we did discuss that every program may have its own governance, and every project within the program may have its own governance, although we did agree that there could be a generic program governance structure or a project governance structure developed by the PMO in the organization. But naturally, for each specific case of a program or a project, there might have to be certain tailoring to be done, and that is the governance of every project and every program is anyways going to be unique, and therefore we need to design and implement that properly. So who is responsible to design it? Naturally, not the program manager. Program manager could be there for the program governance I'm talking about. As far as the project governance is concerned, program manager will develop that project governance mechanism by himself. Naturally, he may consult with the program governance as we discussed yesterday. But as far as the program governance is concerned, the authors of this program governance are the sponsor or maybe the governance body. So how it should be designed and implemented? First of all, program governance begins with the identification of governance participants and the establishment of governance practices. So we did talk about 12 different practices in the very beginning. So those practices have to be outlined, stabilized and understood, and we also need to know who actually are going to be playing what role in this governance. So all these governance participants as well as those practices must be established for this specific program. There is also a need to define the specific expectations for how governance related roles are filled and responsibilities discharged. What is the expectation? Because that expectation will set the mood for further performance. Governance practices may differ depending on the sector or industry that the organization serves. And we went as far as saying that even every program may have slightly different governance structure. Although we may have a template created generally covering most of the points which should be there in the governance, in the program governance, but every program may have slightly different flavor to its governance. The purpose and the specific environment of every program might dictate that, and naturally our steering committee is going to be responsible for that. Governance of programs in such diverse fields as national or local governments, aerospace, defense, banking and financing. You see, depending on the industry, location and type of structure, organization, we may have completely different requirements. Pharmaceutical development, for that matter, may have remarkably different needs based on the unique political, regulatory, legal, technical, or competitive environment in which they operate. So we have to give allowance for that. In each case, however, a sponsor organization seeks to implement governance practices that enable the organization to monitor the program support of the organizational strategy. You see, this is very sensitive. When we are talking about program governance is important because that is going to ensure that program remains aligned with the organization strategy and delivers the benefits expected. So if there is a good mechanism, if there is a good governance mechanism in place, it's properly designed, then first of all, the program will not fail. And secondly, the benefits will be properly transited or sustained by ultimately the beneficiaries. Effective governance ensures that strategic alignment is optimized and that the program targeted benefits are delivered as expected. This is exactly what I said just now. Governance participants also confirm that all stakeholders are appropriately engaged and that appropriate supportive tools and processes are defined and effectively leveraged. Governance practices provide the foundation for ensuring that decisions are made rational and with appropriate justification, and that the responsibilities and accountabilities are clearly defined and applied. This has to be done in the governance practices. I mean, you don't need to, go down to that level of detail, but at least the generic governance practices must have been outlined by the governance steering committee, as if proper roles could be assigned, responsibilities and accountabilities. All of these activities are accomplished within the policies and standards of the host and partner organization and are measured to attain compliance. So this is the foundation and justification for that. Then is the design influence. The design of program governance can have a significant influence on the success of the program. Naturally, we understand that good governance will lead to success of the program. But in extreme cases, inappropriate governance may create more problems than its absence, as it can engender a false sense of alignment, progress, or success. And that would probably happen when you do not have properly experienced people in governance committee. That could be a disaster. A person who is a person or people who are in the board, they are not experienced to do this job. They will be a disaster to the program. Not only program will not be able to deliver, but false expectations would be set. So this is exactly why we need people to understand this whole concept, as if they can take appropriate responsibility at that level. What are the factors in design and implementation of program governance? There are many factors to consider when designing program governance rules and framework. Common factors to consider here when optimizing and tailoring the program governance, that would include, first of all, the legislative environment, decision-making hierarchy, optimized governance, alignment with portfolio and organizational governance. Naturally, either of them, maybe, some in some cases, programs would be answerable to portfolio, in some cases directly aligned to the organizational strategies, and then either of the case, whichever governance matters. Then program delivery, contracting, risk of failure, how that is going to be countered, strategic importance, program management office, and program funding structure. You can clearly see here that while we are talking about the design and implementation of the program governance, we are not at all micromanaging the program. We are not creating the program management plan. We are not micromanaging the program manager. We are not concerned about how he does his job, but the overall umbrella instructions have been provided that you have to also take care of the legislative environment and decision-making hierarchy. Such decisions should come to us, how the governance can be optimized, how it can be aligned, these kind of things. So these factors will actually give out the KPIs for the governance committee to see and to check whether program is performing according to the expectations or not. So this becomes now absolutely clear that governance committee does not wish and does not interfere with the working of the program, but at the same time they have got their own skin to save. They have to look at certain aspects, and these are those certain aspects which will tell them how well the program is going. So it nowhere in these aspects is actually the progress of the program, but progress of the program would be translated into one of these things and be shown as a KPI to them, and then they can have their success factor. Talking about a legislative environment, programs that are significantly influenced by changing legislation may benefit from governance design for direct interaction with the legislative authorities. If at all, your program is going to be instrumental in changing certain legislation, it will, definitely it will, because if we look at it from the organizational perspective, you are changing something big. You are affecting the strategy of the organization, and therefore the way of working of the organization may legally change. So you may affect a change to the organization, or maybe if it is a higher level, you may be affecting the legislation of the country. In other cases, the interaction is performed by elements of corporate governance on behalf of the program. Decision-making hierarchy. It is critical for decision-making responsibility to be at the level where competence, accountability, and authority reside. And as you understand, the accountability and authority of program resides with the governance board or the sponsor. The accountability and authority does not reside with the program manager. Program manager, what does he have? He has the responsibility of day-to-day working of the program. That must be very clear. Authority and accountability is always one step up than the responsibility. Although in general we assume that a person having responsibility must be accountable, must have some authority. Yes, of course, he must have some kind of authority. Of course, he must be accountable up to some extent, but actually he is answerable to someone, and to that someone is actually holding the major portion of the authority. He is actually accountable if something goes wrong in the project. You see, I gave a very simple example. This is program. Let's talk about a simple project. A project of $6 million has been the responsibility of day-to-day running of that project has been given to a project who is being paid maybe $200,000 per year or $300,000 per year, something like that, or let's say $1 million per year. But what if he somehow, due to his mistake or whatever, he drowns this project? Is it possible that this project manager can fulfill the loss caused? He cannot be held accountable for everything. There must be some check and balance system, which is the governance structure, and they are there to take on that responsibility. They will not let anything bad happen. That's why they have this decision-making hierarchy and authority. This is what authority I'm talking about. So you can't blame project manager for everything going wrong. For that matter, in this case, we can't blame program manager for everything going wrong. If something was going wrong, the people sitting in the decision brackets and in the steering committee, were they all sleeping all the time? Why did they wake up at the very last moment? So it is not always the fault of the program manager, and they should shoulder most of the accountability and most of the authority. The responsibility of steering committee is usually lesser than the program manager, because program manager is overall responsible for complete day-to-day working of all of the program. So in general, if I would say that a higher level, the governance level or whatever the senior level is, that senior level will always have more accountability and authority and less responsibility. Whereas the program manager level or the working level would have more responsibility and a little bit of accountability and authority. There are complexities to this approach. For example, in organizations where employees are not ultimately accountable for their actions, are not made to feel accountable for their actions, there is a greater need for controlling practices. So that is exactly why a little bit of accountability and authority should be, funneled downwards to the program manager and then further on to the project manager and so on, as if they can control things at their end. But that is limited accountability and limited authority. Major authority and accountability lies with the higher authority. In other circumstances, a highly regarded, successful, and experienced program manager and team may be given greater autonomy and decision-making power than is typically given to a program manager. Now you have to be very careful. You have to understand what kind of a program manager are you dealing with. If the program manager is experienced, the team is well established and they have been dealing things, this sort of programs earlier, and we are confident about them, we can give them a little more power. We can give them a little more autonomy and decision-making powers. This is called delegation. We can delegate these things, but with a lot of care. How to optimize? Optimized governance, this is another factor. Governance should be optimized. Generally, it makes sense for the size of the program governance to be optimized and to be as streamlined as possible while still able to perform the practices of the domain. So this is exactly what we desire. We want the job to be done in the best possible manner. It should be optimized. And therefore, the governance structure, once it is being developed, that should be tailored in that fashion that for this specific requirement, it should deliver the optimized result. This will lead to role clarity. You should ensure that everybody, all the stakeholders, do understand their role in their role, for that matter, the governance role they have to play. The part of their role which is towards contributing towards the governance, optimized governance, effective and targeted support from the organization, and ultimately more rapid and effective decision making, endorsements, and approvals. Program governance should not duplicate program management activity. That is exactly what I had been saying for so long. Program governance does not micromanage the program. Program manager is on responsibilities. Program governance, as you see in those on those sectors, there was nothing which was interfering with the program manager. This was all about linking the program with the organization, and only those portions are to be viewed by the governance structure. Aligned with upper governance, naturally, this is a very important point that whatever is happening, whatever governance structures you have developed for this program, that governance structure must actually be aligned with the organizational governance or the portfolio governance, because if it is not, then whatever you are doing is not contributing anything to the organization. Program governance is impacted by the portfolio governance that it supports, if at all portfolio is present. The degree to which the program governance should align with the organizational governance is based on the number, type, and relative importance of the program governance interactions with corporate group and governance. Typically, the need for alignment with organizational governance is greatest in the program definition stage, as the program governance and the program itself are being formulated. So when we are conceiving everything, when we are putting it all together, that is the time when the program is being properly defined and everything, roles are defined, they have been described and all that. And that is the time when the foundation is laid for program governance. So this alignment can be checked at that very time. Then is the program delivery. A program that regularly delivers benefits to the organization is likely to require different governance than a program delivering all or most of the benefits at the end. So you see, this makes a difference. If there is a program which is expected to yield most of the benefits or all of the benefits towards the end of the program, we need to manage it differently than a project which is consistently delivering value or benefits throughout the life of the program. If it is delivering benefits throughout the life of the program, then we need to have better control. We need to have better governance structure, as if we are assured that whatever is going out of the program is not actually harming the purpose of the strategic objective or the organizational governance. So it would be a good governance from the program point of view if everything is designed accordingly. Keeping program delivery in mind, you design the governance structure accordingly. Regular delivery of benefits potentially requires constant change in the operations of the organization, and the governance to manage these change is critical throughout the life cycle, because all the time program is somehow some legislative changes or otherwise the way of working of the organization will keep changing while the benefits are being adopted. On the other hand, a program which is going to deliver after say 10 years, then we will only be focusing after 10 years when the major change is going to come in the organization. So that's why the program delivery also matters. Then is contracting. A program being managed and staffed by employees of the receiving organization is likely to require a different level of governance than a program being delivered by an external party, when in such cases the management of legal agreement requires a different governance focus. Now, when we get involved with a subcontractor or any kind of a contractor, if we are not doing all the work by ourselves and some third party is performing that duty, then again we need to have more strict governance structure, as if something may not go wrong. We do not want the contractor, because contractors' interests are very different from our interests. He would be governed by the contract. He would not be governed by our governance structure. Therefore, in our contract, we should be very clear that the interest of the organization and the governance structure is built into the contract, and contractor does not do something which otherwise harms the organization in one way or the other. So this is again a very important point. Risk of failure. The greater the perceived risk of program failure, the greater the likelihood the governance team will monitor progress and success more diligently. I think this is apparent. This is very obvious. If there is a risky program you are handling, you will be much more cautious, and you must build more checks and balances to cater for those perceived risks in your governance structure. Not that you are trying to develop some kind of mitigation strategy, that is not your job, but the check and balance system should be such that if this risk causes any damage to the organization, you should be intimated, or you should learn that as soon as possible, take a relevant decision making, whatever is. This may manifest in a higher frequency of health checks and less decision making delegation. So what we are doing in such a case, first of all, we are bringing in more intensive and rigorous health checks, more than the regular health checks. Normally, if we have maybe two inspections or two health checks per month, then maybe we are going to have weekly health check imposed here. And secondly, we do not want to delegate a lot of authority to the program manager or program team, because this is a very sensitive issue. This is a high risk program. So naturally, your design and implementation program governance is also related to the risk of failure. Then it's strategic importance. How important this program is strategically to the organization. High value programs critical to the success of the organization and delivering benefits that need to be completely aligned with the strategy may require different or more senior participants on the governance team. More sensitive, more attention. So the governance framework will include better controls, more senior people, better decision makers who can keep an eye on those sensitive areas, strategy and all that. So strategic importance makes it obvious that your governance structure, governance framework is going to be much more diligent. If you have a program management office, then what? In many projects or program-based organizations, a centralized PMO. Now, I did talk about two kinds of PMO. One, which is within the program to manage affairs of the subordinate components, and there is another PMO which is at organizational level, centralized PMO, which is looking after all the programs and projects. So he has made it clear that he is talking about the centralized PMO. A centralized PMO supports the governance of all programs for that organization. That I think that is very obvious. Therefore, in other organizations, PMOs may be formed specifically for a given program. You may have a PMO within a program, but here we are talking about the centralized PMO, which could look after the governance of all the programs. So, if that, if the governance body feels that a generic mechanism can work, PMO can handle their responsibilities, they can allow the centralized PMO to look after the governance. But if the matter is more sensitive, probably not. Even if PMO is existing, they will not let PMO control everything. Not at all. So this again depends upon the sensitivity. But if PMO, a centralized PMO does exist, that does facilitate, that does make it possible that PMO may look after the governance issues and affairs with the relevant programs. Then funding structure. When funding is secured from outside the delivery organization, for example, from a World Bank, there are likely implications on the design of the governance and the skills required. Naturally, if you are dealing with an outside body, then naturally their rules and regulations will have to be seen. Maybe they want some financial security, and therefore we have to build certain checks on how the funding is going to be spent, some assurances and all that. So therefore, funding structure may also matter in the development or design and implementation of the program governance. Then are the life cycle phases. In addition to these factors, the phase of the life cycle also influences program governance because the relative importance of different governance practices differ as the program progresses. The importance of having check and balance in the beginning might be different than in the middle of the program or in the end of the program. So especially as we were talking about, while we are planning things, while we are defining things in program, we have to be more diligent. We have to be more diligent as if all governance practices are properly designed and implemented. And then later on, while it is being implemented, at that time we just have to collect certain reports and keep measuring it against some KPIs. The corresponding design of the governance should align with required practices in a timely manner. Then there could be many other considerations as well. So while you are designing and implementing, you can take care of all those issues which are specific to your program. And in addition to these different 12 factors, there could be others also. As a result of the factors described, there are many considerations to account for in the optimization of program governance. Once program governance is designed and implemented, it is important to exercise mechanisms to assess its effectiveness and to continually improve and optimize it. So this will go through a continuous improvement cycle. For a broader discussion of program governance within the context of the organization, portfolio, and program governance, you must look at the governance of the portfolios, programs, and projects, that is the OPM. There is a separate standard on governance of portfolios, programs, and projects. But I feel that the discussion here in this chapter had been quite ample. Very good discussion, very detailed discussion on program governance. But if you want to just have a picture how what is project governance, what is program governance, what is portfolio governance, how do they interrelate with each other and all that. So that standard is going to be the practice guide on governance of portfolio, program, and project is going to be very useful for you. So this brings us to the end of this chapter. So any questions so far? Okay. First of all, probably who was talking about the mapping of the domain tasks? Hashim, was it you or Shaul? Okay. Shaul, I actually went through that and I was shocked to see one thing. And that is, although the PMI program management standard is changing continuously, although for the last 5 years it has not changed at all, but still the standard is in 4th edition and soon it will be in 5th edition. But ironically, the exam content outline is as old as 2011. And there are references in exam content outline to obsolete terms which are no more available in the book. I tried to put in various things, but I cannot relate. Say it talks about roadmap. Roadmap is available. It's okay. It talks about mandate. What can I do about it? Mandate is no more there in the book. And when the questions are made, they do not consider which standard it is. They would just look at the exam content outline and they will start asking questions. So, although this is wrong, PMI should not do it. But because I have personally suffered from this thing in my PgMP exam, therefore, I would say that you must keep the 3rd edition handy. And all those terms which are not available anymore in the 4th edition, only those terms, you should just have a reference, as if any stupid question in exam, if comes from the 3rd edition, you should be able to answer that. This is a precaution I would like you to take. This is really very bad on the part of PMI. If the standard has changed, anything which is in the previous standard is obsolete for all practical purposes. You see, when I gave the exam, it was changing from 1st edition to 2nd edition. So I did appear in the exam after the 2nd edition had come in, and we had most of the questions from 1st edition and from those terms which were obsolete, right? And otherwise, I did an excellent paper, but you know what? I failed. And I could quote so many questions which were obsolete, which were wrong and all that. And I wrote to PMI, I represented my case and said, this is wrong. Your paper is wrong. This is not how you should judge me. And the answer I got was that you should have studied everything because exam is coming from the exam content outline, not from the latest standard. Although, again, I would say this is absolutely wrong. This should not be done. But PMI is doing that. Right? So, whatever, mapping I have already done, according to the previous edition, you must refer to that. Open up your third edition and refer to that. And also, it is very simple. You don't need my support for that. You can start writing the current references of the fourth edition on this on the sheets which I provided in the slides. The mapping I have done. You, you can now write with a different ink. You can write the current references. I tried doing some of them, like the reference for roadmap has shifted from chapter 3 to, just let me tell you. Okay, roadmap is 3.3. Now, okay, let me open up that file and I can show you. Yeah, that is the domain mapping. Let me show you the domain mapping. Here it starts. It will just be visible in a moment. Okay, tell me if you can see. Right. I'm opening your mics as if you can talk. Okay. You can mute your mic when you are not speaking, as if there is no disturbance. Okay. Can you see it now? This chart is okay. But since 2000,
Yes, sir. We can able to see.
yes, since 2011, the domains have not changed. The distribution has not changed. Number of tasks are same. The distribution of the percentage is exactly the same. So this calculation is absolutely okay. 72 tasks, this many questions. This is all okay. This is all okay. No problem with it. The problem comes when we start here. For example, strategic program management. Previously, it was 3.1. Let us see what it is now. If you want to note down, you can note down. Uh, First reference would be uh, what is it? Organizational strategy. Just a moment, I'll just find it out. That is 2.3. The reference written here is 3.1. Now it is 2.3, organizational strategy, portfolio management, and program management linkages. This is the new title. 2.3. You just write 2.3 and you will remember it. Task 2. Task 2 is 3.3 now. Task 3 is also 3.3. And now just look at task 4. Program mission. This is no more available. The program mission statement is no more being created. So I will very strongly recommend that these references which I have written in red, you keep these references with you and open up your third edition book and just understand what the mission statement was. Go and read from standard third edition 3.1.2.2. Just read it. Just read it. If in case you get this question in the exam, then you should be able to answer it. This is just a caution. Then task 5, again organization strategy and alignment. Again the same reference. That was 2.3. And with 2.3, you can also write 1.5 and 2.3. Both of them must be ready.
Sir,
Yes, please.
sir, where we will get the old, sir, where we will get the old edition, because the one I downloaded from PMI is the new one. Can I download from there the old edition also?
I can share it with you. I can share it. I have
Please do.
I can share that. So you are understanding my point. You have to slightly work on it, and you will find everything. He has done absolutely nothing except for just linking it to the titles, to the index pages, right? So task 4 is okay. Task 5 again, it is the same two references, which are 2.3 and 1.5. Task 6 is about the benefits and the business case and benefit identification. So let's move on and go to chapter number 4. 4.1. 4.1 is the answer for that. And where the business case is being developed, you can, I have already given the reference for that. The organization strategy 1.2.3 and 4.1. 7, business analysis and planning. That was business analysis and planning. Estimate the high level financial and non-financial benefits. No, it is not business analysis, it is benefit analysis. So for that it is 4.2. So it remains correct, 4.2. Then program business case, you already understand business case was 3.1, right? And there is no bifurcation anymore. It is not 3.1.1. It is 3.1 business case. Then obtain organization leadership approval for the program by presenting the program charter with its high level cost, milestones, etc. That is the program approval, and that is coming from program test component oversight and integration program approval, endorsement and distribution. You have to go back for that in 2 point strategy. So this will be covered in chapter 3, environmental assessment. It would be 3.2 to 3.4. Because approval of the program is dependent on the charter. What next? We have 10. Component oversight and integration. Identify the evaluate integration opportunities and needs. For example, human capital, human resource, skill sets, facilities, finance. So this is a component level task. So component level things are done in when we are in implementation, right? So let's go to life cycle. That is chapter number 7, and program delivery phase, that is 8.2, and all those things are happening in 8.2. Task 11, exploit strategic opportunities for change in order to maximize the realization of benefits for the organization. So this is program benefit and program governance. So actually you have to refer to both program benefits as well as program governance. exploit strategic opportunities for change in order to maximize the realization of the benefit. Main focus is benefit. Mark the organization, benefit management plan, program components, benefit and program components. Program benefit. Up to some extent, you may have to refer to 3.5 program risk management. That is especially the initial program risk assessment. You have to refer to this, and you also have to refer to benefit realization in 4.3 and governance. A little bit of governance we have already studied. Actually, once you study all this carefully, you don't need to create this kind of mapping, because this mapping is not very useful. Because say we have just a moment. What is it? For example, it says program roadmap. If I just open up the program roadmap 3.3, trust me, this is just 1 or 2 paragraphs, and that does not tantamount to creating 2 questions for here and 2 questions here, 4 questions from roadmap, and it is not going to be coming from book as such, because book just has 2 paragraphs about it. 3.3, they're just two to three paragraphs and a diagram. How do you expect that reading these 2 pages will give you answer of 4 questions? Not at all. Not at all. So this mapping is just an indicative mapping. This does not kind of provide the answers to your questions. That you have to apply your knowledge and understanding to answer those questions. Ji, Shaul, are you okay with it? Are you understanding what I'm saying?
Okay, sir. We need to work a lot to understand this domain mapping.
Of course, you have to.
Yeah, we'll do it.
But please be mindful of the fact they will fail you if you only study from 4th edition. So study the 3rd edition, and also, if possible, if you don't have a very good concept of certain things, or you just want to polish your concept, then if you have access to some of the books in the reference, you can also read out one odd book. Don't make notes, just like a novel. You go through one or two books on strategic program management. That will clarify many of your doubts. But what I understand is, whatever is given in the body of knowledge, the standard for program management, that is amply clear. That is amply clear. The only thing now remains is how can you relate it to your practice or practical experience in the field on programs. If you can relate it properly, then probably you will never have a problem facing that. And that misconception should no more be there that 3rd edition is out of course. 3rd edition is very much in course. We have got a lot many things they will be asking about program mission statement. You see here, they have program mission statement written here, and once somebody is making question, he will definitely make a question about program mission statement. He will not consider that it is not in 4th edition. Are you okay with it, Hashim?
Okay, sir.
Fine, good. Hashim, what about you? Now this is a good job done. Whomsoever has done it, he translated the sentence of task 1 in a very beautiful way. Perform initial program assessment by defining this and this in order to ensure program alignment with this, and this. This is a very beautiful way, because then you know everything where it is, and you must know what the initial program assessment is, what are program objective requirements, risks. So all of these points you should quickly go through. Do not skip anything. So these will help you still. No, these diagrams, they are good enough and they are applicable on the current scenario. The only thing which is not fully applicable is these red writing which I have done. The points which I have referred from version 3, edition, third edition. But they are still applicable, but you just have to add few references in a different color with the same task from fourth edition. That will be done. The mapping is complete. So I think you can use this this presentation as such. There is no problem in it. Okay, so I am closing this presentation, and I am going to start the next. That is the life cycle. Let me check life cycle. Life cycle, and then we have got one more chapter after that, program activities, and that would be all. Life cycle we are going to go through now. Okay, program life cycle management, and in this chapter we have two major headings. One is the program lifecycle itself, which includes the program lifecycle phases, program definition phase, program delivery phase, program close. There are three phases. So first of all, in 7.1.1, it is describing all of these phases together and then taking them one by one: program definition phase, program delivery phase, and program closure phase. Second heading is about the program activities and integration management. Now, the 8th chapter talks about program management in more detail, but here, how these program activities are integrated together, this is explained here under the heading program activities overview, program integration management, and mapping of program lifecycle to the program activities. That much is covered in 7th chapter. So let us start. Okay. In order to ensure the realization of benefits, programs provide the necessary alignment of the organization's strategic goals and objectives with the individual components. These components may include projects, subsidiary programs, and additional program-related activities, which we also call program activities, that are necessary to achieve the specified goals and objectives. You see, there is a lot of repetition time and again, it is saying program components, and every time it is explaining what a program component is, but at least it is beneficial from this point of view that you are now absolutely clear what a program component means. Even yesterday, somebody asked a question about program component. Program components are projects, subprograms, and program activities. That's it, right? So these all are the parts of the program. So these components, as it says, and we have to integrate it all together. That is our mission. So first of all, we understand the life cycle, Then we try to see how these components can be integrated in the overall integration plan. Since programs by nature involve a certain level of uncertainty, naturally program is too big, too huge, naturally more uncertain, more change is required, more complexity is there, and there is a lot of interdependency amongst various components. It is useful to establish a common and consistent set of processes that can be applied across phases. So what could commonly be categorized, that we can say that this is the first part of the program, the second part of the program, third part of the program. So program has to be generally divided into a number of phases. The, the, the names of these phases, if it was a project, we would have different phases every time. In a project, we may have 3 phases. In another project, we have 5 phases. In another project, we have 6 phases. So that depends upon the work of the project. What are we creating in that project? The project lifecycle is dependent on the technical work of the project. But program management is such a huge entity that we do not look at what is being created, but a generic lifecycle is created. And like in this case, we just have 3 standard phases. 3 standard phases, right? Definition, and then we deliver, and then ultimately. So since programs by nature involve a certain level of uncertainty, this we talked about, so these discrete phases, which may sometimes overlap, constitute the program lifecycle. Program lifecycle management spans the duration of the program. Throughout the life of the program lifecycle will be running. So you would have the control of the program lifecycle, no matter if some of the phases somehow for some time are overlapping. Although from the lifecycle point of view, I say one thing, and that is 2 phases cannot start simultaneously. Impossible. Phases are generally in sequence, but in certain cases, we may have to overlap them a bit. We don't overlap whole of the phase with the other phase. Impossible. That is irrational. That cannot happen. So these 3 phases they may overlap a bit. First phase is overlapping the second phase sometimes. Second phase may be overlapping the third phase slightly. But more the overlap is, more riskier the program will become, which we don't want. And same is true for the project also. In projects, we also don't want to have a lot of overlap. This is only in certain cases we would say, okay, let's live with it. Let's have a bit of overlap, but not always. Program lifecycle management spans the duration of the program, during which it contributes to and integrates with the other program domains as well as the supporting program activities. You see, program lifecycle, while it is running, there are a lot many other things are happening simultaneously. The governance is happening simultaneously. The benefit management cycle is going on simultaneously, and strategic alignment is being done. So all of these things are happening in parallel. All of this effort has to be integrated. And not only that, but all the program activities within this life cycle also needs to be integrated with that. So this is a big job. This is a serious job. The program life cycle, programs function similarly to projects in that the program is defined, benefits are delivered, and program is closed. Therefore, generically, a program can be defined. A program can have these 3 phases: the definition phase, the delivery phase, and the closure phase. However, unlike projects, programs involve the coordination and sequencing of multiple components above what is required to an individual project level. So, individual project level, we don't have to care about the multiple things going on. Although there are things in project which are multiple, but we are more concerned about accomplishing something at the end of the phase. Here, a lot many projects and components are happening, and their results have to be integrated somehow. And program activities are playing a very important role. They are getting the output, the product of each project, and then it is working on it, actually running those products, and ultimately converting them into benefits, and then integrating those benefits or consolidating those benefits ultimately as a program output. The program activities executed within the program lifecycle are dependent on the specific type of program and typically begin before funding is approved or when the program manager is assigned. There is often considerable effort expended prior to defining and approving a program. For that, you have to look back at section 3 to 6. We have discussed that in a lot of detail. Strategic alignment and governance and all that. We have amply gone into details of those things. During program delivery, components are authorized, planned, executed, and benefits are delivered. So this is as far as the benefits are concerned. During the program delivery, this all is happening. The benefit delivery, complete cycle of benefit delivery is happening in program delivery. And it exceeds further on towards the transition and sustainment. Program closure is then approved by the program steering committee. Governance comes into play. When the desired benefits or program objectives have been realized, or the steering committee has determined that the program should be terminated. This is the governance happening here. Reasons for early termination may be a change in organizational strategy with which the program is no longer aligned, or an assessment that the planned benefits may no longer be achievable. Let's have an overview of the life cycle. Programs often span long durations, multiple years, and in some cases decades. Regardless of duration, all programs follow a similar trajectory. So this is standardized phases for all programs. Even if you refer to the gateway process of UK, the OGC, Office of Government Commerce, they also have a kind of a life cycle for their programs, and that is very similar to this. But that is much more better explained, because that is more of a methodology than a framework or a standard. So this is a standard. This will not describe things in a lot of detail, but it will just create a framework for you, as if you can understand how the things can be done. Rest, it leaves the methodology part to you. To successfully deliver benefits to an organization, programs are implemented using 3 major phases: program definition phase, program delivery phase, and program closure phase. In definition phase, it consists of those program activities which are conducted to authorize the program and develop the program roadmap required to achieve the expected result. We are defining things. This is the time where the governance people are more interested that their rules and regulations are put into place. As part of the program definition, the program business case, program charter, both are formulated here. And once they are approved, the program management plan is prepared. So charter is created here, business case was developed here, charter was created here, and the program management plan takes its shape. So this is kind of a planning thing going on. So definition phase will seal that. Delivery phase comprises the program activities performed to produce the intended results. The program has been authorized in the definition phase. Program has been authorized in the definition phase, but its components are yet not authorized. During the program delivery, various components of the program, projects, sub-programs, and other program activities will keep initiating and closing, initiating and closing. So throughout the program delivery cycle, the project charters would be issued, sub-program charters will be issued. So the initiation and closure and all in between will keep happening throughout the delivery phase, and benefits will also start yielding during this phase, and that will continue until we hand it over in closure. And even beyond that, the sustainment plan is created and given to the customer, if you remember what we discussed earlier. So that is the short story. Throughout this phase, individual components are initiated, planned, executed, transitioned, closed, while benefits are delivered, transitioned, and sustained. Sustainment plan. So this is what is happening in delivery phase. In closure, this phase includes the program activities necessary to transition the program benefits to the sustaining organization. Now we are talking about the overall program benefit being handed over to another party. This is happening in program closure, and also we will provide the program benefit sustenance. Sustenance plan should also be provided for that. During program closure, the program is transitioned and closed, or terminated early, or work is transitioned to another program. So this is either you are giving it to the customer or a party or organization, or maybe to another program to do some further work on it. So if you look at this diagram, this is somehow going to explain organizational strategy. This is focusing more on the delivery phase. Organizational strategy, alignment is going on throughout, but alignment is established during the program definition. Then is the implementation of that strategy. Program definition has the program formulation and program planning. Program formulation, roadmap, business case. Program planning, program management plan. So these things are created here. And once the program definition is done, the program delivery has already started. How come? As soon as the first component of the program is allowed to start, and that can be allowed to start during the program definition phase, the program definition is going on, but at the same time, certain things have already been planned, and those programs are being initiated, projects are being initiated, those components are being initiated. So while we are in the definition phase, program delivery has already started, right? And then programs keep, new components keep starting, keep initiating, and it goes on and on. As soon as the first benefit starts yielding, the benefit delivery starts. So during the program delivery, when the first program, before this end of the first program, before the end of the first component, that benefit delivery starts, and it continues until after the program closure, because it ends with the transition and sustainment. So the benefit, you can see program delivery is happening while the closure has started. Closure can start as soon as the first benefits are delivered. What is happening in program delivery? Components are authorized and planned. Components are executed, oversight and integration, and ultimately component level transition and closure. Component level transition and closure. Then in program closure, what happens is that is the consolidated benefits are being delivered, transitioned, and ultimately sustained. So you can see that program closure is going a little bit ahead of program delivery. After the program delivery, there is a little job still left of concluding the program, that is the transition and sustenance. And after that is done, the benefit cycle is still on. Benefit cycle is still on, and that will continue even after the program has finished. That means as soon as we have transitioned and we have provided the sustainment plan, the program can complete. But the benefits will continue. Although it will no more be our responsibility for managing those benefits, but those benefits will be managed by the other party. Let's look at the program definition phase. If you have any questions, please let me know, because your mics are on. You can speak anytime. I may not be able to see your hand because I just collapsed this window. But if you want any question, you can speak in between. Okay, so let's talk about the definition phase first. Program definition phase includes the program activities conducted to authorize the program and develop the program roadmap. Very simply, only two jobs are done here. Once, to authorize in formulation, you authorize the program, you develop the program roadmap. That's all. It typically includes activities that are performed as a result of an organization plan to fulfill the strategic objectives or achieve a desired state within an organization's portfolio. So this is the purpose. But what are we creating? We are creating the roadmap, and you're authorizing the program. You have the roadmap, you have the business case, and you are issuing the program charter. Okay, in definition phase, the other thing is happening is the planning. First is formulation, then is planning. So definition has two parts. First is formulation, another is planning. In planning, we create the program management plan. So there may be a number of activities executed by a portfolio management body prior to start of the program definition phase, and there is where the business case was developed. The portfolio management activity develops concepts for product, service, or organization outcome, scope, frameworks, initial requirements, timelines, deliverables, acceptable cost guidelines. So general guidelines on all those things could have been done by the portfolio management. So far, the program has yet not started. The primary purpose of this program definition phase is to progressively elaborate the goals and objectives to be addressed by the program, and define the expected program outcomes and benefits, and seek approval. So this is basically a matter of the authorization, approval, permissions. And naturally, when we are seeking permissions, we are dealing with the governance. We are dealing with the governance body. Program definition generally falls into two distinct but overlapping subphases: formulation and planning. The program manager is selected and assigned during program formulation. Now, program formulation involves the development of the program business case. Naturally, based on the business case, we'll be creating the program charter, and ultimately we will establish the roadmap, which states the overall expected benefits to be addressed by the program in support of the strategic initiatives. Okay, during this subphase, the formulation one, the sponsoring organization also assigns the program sponsor to oversee and govern the program. The sponsor's responsibilities: secure financing for the program, number one, and the other one is selecting the program manager who is responsible for the conduct and management of the program. The assignment of the program manager and the definition of his or her role, responsibilities, and organizational interfaces should be performed as early as possible, as this individual effectively guides the program formulation activity and facilitates the development of the required output. So his presence is necessary for doing all that job. As soon as the program charter has been issued, program manager has a major role to play during formulation and later on in the planning and later on. Working closely to demonstrate how the program will deliver the desired organizational benefits, the sponsor, sponsoring organization, and the program manager work closely together. Why? To initiate studies and estimates of scope, resource, and cost at a high level. Develop an initial risk assessment, again high level. Develop a program charter and the roadmap, very important. Major outputs: program charter and the roadmap. Studies of scope, resources, and costs are also performed to assess the organization's ability to deliver the program. At this time, the candidate program is compared with other organizational initiatives to determine the priority of the program under consideration. Priority in comparison with what? With other programs, other projects. This information serves as critical input into the creation of a business case. If it was not developed by the portfolio management function Although portfolio management has done that homework, there must have been some business case, some justification for doing this project. It is absolutely not possible that portfolio management was not involved in the business case. But even if that was the case, then there might have been the business analyst involved into this. So whomsoever, you have to take on the responsibility from there. Timing, when the business case was developed prior to the program formulation, because business case is not done during formulation. The formulation is done based on the business case. So business case was created by someone else, maybe the portfolio manager, maybe the business analyst, or whomsoever. So prior to program formulation, business case must have been prepared and it is ready. So it may be revised and updated accordingly by the program manager or his team. Additionally, an initial risk assessment is conducted, which is a high-level risk assessment, to analyze the high-level broad threats and opportunities. It is not detailed at all. This analysis helps determine the probability of programs' successful delivery of organizational benefit and helps identify risk response strategies and plans. If you want to learn about the program activities, we will discuss it in the last chapter, chapter 8. Talking about program charter serves as the primary document that is reviewed by the program steering committee to decide if the program will be authorized. So the permission to start is based upon the program charter. Program charter would be issued by the signatories or the steering committee, not the program manager. Program manager may have helped in creation of the program charter, but actually that is the responsibility of the steering committee or the sponsor to actually sign that or issue that. Approval of the charter formally authorizes the commencement of the program, provides the program manager with the authority to apply organizational resources to program activities, and connects the program to the organizational ongoing work and strategic priorities. If the program is not authorized, if the steering committee does not allow, this information should be recorded and captured in a lesson plan repository. That means program charter was rejected. It was not approved. What should be included in the program charter? It is a very broad outline. This is not some kind of a template or a format, but just broad. I mean, these are some of the things which should be discussed in the program charter, right? You must provide the justification from the business case. You must show the vision and the strategic alignment, the benefit, where we actually are going, the scope of this program, the benefit strategy. The benefit management plan has yet not been done, but you must have created some high-level strategy how those benefits are expected to be achieved. So you must understand what the benefits are, and generally what is going to be your strategy. Naturally, when you create the program management plan, you will elaborate a bit more on that. Then, are there any assumptions or constraints? What might be the different components of this program? Risks and issues. You see, program charter cannot be the program management plan, but still, as much information it can capture, it can provide. But it is not as detailed a document as the program management plan. Risks and issues, a broad timeline, which is reinforced by the roadmap we create, right? Then resources needed, stakeholder considerations, and program governance. So these are few instructions which are encompassed in the program charter. So in justification, why the program is important, what does it achieve, vision, what is the end state and how will it benefit the organization, strategic alignment, what are the key strategic drivers in the program relationship to the organizational strategic objective and any other ongoing strategic initiative. Benefits, what are the key outcomes required to achieve the program vision and benefits. Scope, what is included within the program and what is considered to be out of scope at high level. Benefit strategy, What is the approach to ensure the realization of the planned benefits? Assumptions and constraints. What are the assumptions, constraints, dependencies, external factors considered? How have they shaped or limited the program objective? This is very important. Whatever constraints or dependencies or whatever, you must show how can they impact the program objective. But again, I am saying that you do not have to write a thesis paper in that. You just, you must be very economical with words and write a very brief program charter defining these things very slightly at a very high level. Then what could be the components? How are the projects and the other components configured to deliver the program and intended benefits? General strategy will be disclosed by these components. Risk and issues. What are the initial risks and issues identified during the preparation of the program roadmap? Timeline. What is the total length of the program, including all key milestone dates? You see, timeline is not a Gantt chart. Timeline is a straight line equal to the length of the program on which there are various important milestones shown with date or expected date. That is called a roadmap. This is not exactly a Gantt chart. Now, roadmap is something in between. Roadmap is basically a timeline with a little bit of refinement on it. It is not exactly a Gantt chart, but it somehow gives you a idea how the things in what sequence they are happening and all that. Resources needed. What are the estimated program costs and resources needed? Again, an estimate. It is not the final word. Stakeholder consideration. Who are the key stakeholders and who are the most important stakeholders? What is the initial strategy to engage them? And this information contributes to the development of the communication management plan at program level naturally. Program governance. What is the recommended governance structure to manage, control, and support the program? So, who is preparing all this? Although these are the words of the governance committee, but program manager is assisting them create this, and he is presenting them to them. And therefore, although he is not the author, but he has provided them some outline of the governance structure. Now, this is their decision if they want to add something to it or whatever. What are the recommended governance structures to guide and oversee the program components, including reporting requirements? What authority does the program manager possess? This information is updated in the program governance plan. Then program charter contents, we have already talked about it. The outputs of the program formulation may continue to be updated throughout the program definition phase as business results are measured and the planned outcomes become more defined. Now, once we have the approval of the program charter, we commence the program charter. Program planning commences upon formal approval of the program charter by the program steering committee. In this case, in this phase, a governance structure is established. The governance structure actually comes into play. The initial program organization is defined and a team is assembled. So now here, the structure is taking shape. The governance structure, the program structure, team, and everybody. So they are all coming to play. The program management plan is the document that integrates the program subsidiary plan and establishes the management control and overall plan for integrating and managing the program's individual components. Against the program management plan using information that is collected and consolidated from the constituent project. So now we are talking about the planning phase, because that's why we are talking about program management plan. Program management plan is developed in planning phase. definition phase, planning subphase. Its main purpose is to ensure that the program is continually aligned with the strategic priorities of the organization in order to deliver the expected benefits. The program management plan is developed based on the organization's strategic plan. Business case we already have, the program charter we have, roadmap we have, any other outputs from program formulation could also be used. So this will actually form the program management plan. What should be included in the program management plan? This plan is a key output created during the program planning and may be combined into one plan or multiple plans that include the following. What are they? Benefit management plan, stakeholder engagement plan, governance plan, change management plan, communication management plan, financial management plan, information management plan, procurement management plan, quality management plan, resource management plan, risk management plan, schedule management plan, scope management plan, and the program roadmap. Program roadmap is part of the program plan, program management plan. And in some cases, the governance plan is also part of it. The governance plan is also part of it. But naturally, governance plan is provided to us. Basically, the main principles have been provided to us and we have created it accordingly. Once the program management plan has been approved, the program delivery phase can begin. Meaning what? We have done the definition. As soon as we get the approval on the program management plan, our job is done as far as the definition is concerned. The formulation and the planning thing, sub phases have finished. Now we have to move on to the next phase. However, it is important to remember that development of this plan is an iterative activity since it is prepared early in the program lifecycle and conflicting priorities, assumptions, and constraints may arise due to changes in critical factors such as business goals, deliverables, benefits, times, and costs. So we'll keep, revising it. Program management plan, we can move the change request just like we used to do in the project management. So here at program level, there will be changes and any change would be approved by the steering committee here. This is what the updates and revisions are. To address these factors, updates and revisions to the program management plan and its subsidiary plan are approved and rejected through program governance performance domain. Program delivery phase begins after the program management plan is reviewed and formally approved. Programs are typically authorized by a governance steering committee, whereas the components are authorized by the project program manager. Okay, before we can move ahead, I would like to have a break of about 10 minutes. Is it okay with you? Hashim? Shaul, right.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay, wonderful. So we meet after 10 minutes. Thank you. Okay. Let's start then. Next is the program delivery phase. Now what do we do in programs delivery phase? We have got 3 subphases in it. Program delivery phase includes program activities performed to produce the intended results of each component in accordance with the program management plan. This phase is considered iterative instead of linear because you complete one component and then you start another component. So there is a kind of iteration going on. Although those components are one after the other, but this is a iterative kind of a thing. As the capabilities produced by each component are integrated into the overall program to facilitate delivery of the intended program benefits. The program management team provides oversight and support to position the components for successful completion. The component work and activities are integrated under the program umbrella to facilitate the management and delivery of program benefits, and naturally from every component there would be some benefits coming out, but those would be the component benefits. These components have to be translated into the program benefits. They have to be consolidated into the program benefits ultimately. The work in this phase includes the program and execution of program components. Component management plans that would include the project management plan, the sub-program management plan, the whatever. Every component will have its own respective component management plan. Don't be confused with the word component management plan. It is the project management plan for the projects. It is the sub-program management plan for programs, and it is the program activity management plan for the program activities. So this would cover respectively for each respective management plan, the cost management, schedule, scope management, and everything which is done as per PMBOK, not as per the program management standard, as per PMBOK, are developed at the component level and integrated at the program level. So whatever coming out of a program, project or the component would then be integrated, and that would come under the umbrella of the program to maintain the alignment with the program direction to deliver the program benefits. Interaction with the components to accomplish goals, manage changes, and mitigate risks and issues are managed through the program in order to position the program for success. Naturally, there is a higher level of uncertainty in programs due to its size and complexity. Unlike program management plan and the program roadmap, may document the intended direction and benefit of the program. The full suite of program components may not be known in the program definition phase, because program management plan is an elaborative process. So it will be progressively elaborated. To accommodate this uncertainty, the program manager needs to continually oversee the components throughout the phase and, when necessary, replan for their proper integration or realign to accommodate changes in program direction through adaptive change.
Sir, slide.
You can't see slide?
Sir,
Oh,
yes, sir.
I am sorry. I didn't do anything. They should be. Okay. Let me go back and show you the previous slides. This was the first one. Here we talked about the program activities, then program execution.
Okay, sir.
Program execution. Here I was talking about the various management plans within the component plans, and component, that is a project management plan. Then programs are inherently uncertain, and then the program manager. To accommodate this uncertainty, a program manager needs to continually oversee the components. Now, program manager is also responsible for managing this group of components in a consistent and coordinated way. It's a very heavy responsibility. It is like juggling lot many balls together in order to achieve results that could not be obtained by managing the component as a standalone effort. Because the standalone effort is the responsibility of the component manager. If it is a project, the project manager is responsible for running his project in the best way. But orchestrating them and juggling those various components from the program point of view, that is a program job. Program is more concerned when a component delivers. And when a component delivers, only then program has to take over, and program has to sometimes run that deliverable for quite some time to refine it into the ultimate program benefit. And maybe one benefit has come out from a project, and you are grooming it, and while another benefit joins in from another program and project, and so on and so forth, and ultimately it keeps grooming into the final program benefit. Program delivery ends When program governance determines that the specific criteria for this phase has been satisfied, or a decision is made to terminate the program. Every component, whether it is project or sub-program or a group of program activities, we have to have a charter for that. And that would be basically written down by the program manager, but naturally program manager will seek permission from the governance committee. Although governance committee is not going to authorize the projects or components. Authorization of components is the responsibility of the program manager, but program manager will keep them informed. Component authorization involves the initiation of component based on the organizational specified criteria and individual business cases developed for each component. These criteria are generally included in the program governance plan. The program governance performance domain provides this guidance for processes leading to component authorization. A number of activities are required to verify that a component properly supports the program outcome and aligns with the strategy and ongoing work of the organization prior to authorization. These activities may include performing a need analysis, conducting a feasibility, and all of this is happening in our delivery phase to ensure project realize their intended benefits. Then each component is planned, like the project planning. Component planning is performed throughout the duration of the program delivery. As if you look at it, the program delivery, so at every time during the program delivery, some component is being planned, right? Because they are staggered all over the delivery phase. In response to events that require significant replanning or new component initiation requests submitted by the requesting components. Component planning includes the activities needed to integrate the component into a program to position each component for successful execution. These activities involve formalizing the scope of the work to be accomplished by the component and identifying the deliverable that will satisfy the program goals and benefits. So that is the responsibility of the component, but component planning is carried out. Then their associated management plans, whatever they are, the scope management plan and this management plan or that management plan, all those relevant management plans are created by the relevant components. Each component has associated management plan. In addition to the traditional project management plan, the scope and this and that, there might also be a transition plan from the project side, the operations plan, the maintenance plan, or other types of plans could also be included to that, depending upon the type of work under consideration. The appropriate information from each component plan is integrated into the associated program management plan. This includes information used by the program to help manage and oversee the overall program's progress. Component benefits. In the context of a program, some components may produce benefits as individual components, while other components are integrated with others before the associated benefit may be realized. So there could be a benefit coming directly from a component, or there might be two products coming out of two different projects and then they join together to yield the benefit. Each component team executes its associated plan and program integrative work. Throughout this activity, components provide status and other information to the program manager and to their associated components, so their effort may be integrated into and coordinated with the overall program activities. So program activities are playing a very important role here. Consolidating these components. There may be cases where the program manager may initiate a new component to consolidate the integrative efforts of multiple components. Without this step, individual components may produce deliverables. However, the benefits may not be realized without the coordination delivery. There might be a project which is given the assignment of, consolidating all these benefits, or there might be some program activity. Some component would be there. Some component would be there. Maybe it is a sub-program, whatever it can be. Scheduled for close. After the program components have produced deliverables and coordinated the successful delivery of their product, service, or result, these components are typically scheduled for closure or transition to operations or ongoing work. So each component will close down ultimately. Component transition means what where this deliverable is going to be transitioned to another program or to program activities or whomsoever. Component transitions addresses the need for ongoing activities such as product support, service management, change management, user engagement, or customer support. So now the program activities would then take on these jobs, because the program staff is actually meant for that. Program activities are basically created for that purpose, that whatever is coming out of the programs, projects, that has to be unified, not only unified, but that has to be even sometimes run, operated from a program component to an operational support function in order for the ongoing benefits to be achieved. The criteria for performing these activities and the organizational expectations are documented in the governance plan. Prior to the end of the program delivery phase, all component areas are reviewed to verify the benefits were delivered and to transition any remaining projects and sustaining activities. The final status is reviewed with the program sponsor and the program steering committee before the authorizing program formal program closure. So here we have gone through 3 sub-phases. And now we move on to the closure. And in closure, this is a program closure. The project and component closures have already happened. They have already happened in the delivery phase. In closure, we are more concerned about closure of the program, handing over of the benefits, transitioning, and sustenance. The program closure phase includes program activities necessary to transition program benefits to the sustaining organization and formally closing the program down in a controlled manner. During program transition, the program steering committee is consulted to determine whether the program has met all the desired benefits and that all transition work has been performed within the component transition, or there is another program or sustaining activity that will oversee the ongoing benefits for which this program was chartered. So, steering committee would decide what will happen with the fate of the deliverable or the benefit realized benefits. What is the fate of that? So that would be decided by them. Transitioning activities, in the second instance, there may be work required to transition the resources, responsibilities, knowledge, and lesson learned to another sustaining entity, and that work would be done by the program staff. Once the transitioning activities are completed, the program manager receives approval from the sponsoring organization to formally close down the program. During the closure phase, specific activities are performed which are described in detail in section 7.2.2.5, and we move on to section 7.2. That is program activities and integration management. Optimize and integrate. As defined in section 1, program management refers to the alignment of various components such as projects and other programs to achieve the planned program goals. The practices applied during this process are used to optimize or integrate the goal, cost, schedule, and effort of the individual component to gain control and deliver maximum benefits at the program level instead of the component level. Collective utilization. Program activities and integration management are concerned with collectively utilizing the resources, knowledge, effectively deploy multiple components throughout the program lifecycle. Program activities and integration management are more cyclic and iterative in nature, as adjustments may be required based on the actual outcome and benefit produced to realign the program with the strategic priorities. So integration is, at its peak at this stage. Decision making. This process also involves making decisions regarding competing demands and priorities, risks, resource allocations, changes due to uncertainty and complexity of the program scope, interdependencies among components, and coordination of work to meet the program activities, program objectives. So this all has to be done by the program activities. So we must have a little overview of that. All work performed in a program for the purpose of overall program management is collectively known as a program activity. Meaning, this is not the work of the project. This is not the work of the sub-program. This is the work of coordination and integration, which is under the responsibility of the program manager, program staff, program team, what you call it. Whatever they will perform would be the program activities. They will be performing the program work. And this work is, say, a project has completed, the taking over of the product out of it, then running that thing maybe operationally and yielding the desired benefits which may not have been yielded by the end of the project, then collecting other benefits from other places. So anything which is not included in project management or sub-program management, that would be done by program activities. This is the program team responsible for. Typically, program activities are independent and complementary, since the deliverables produced from one particular activity may be necessary to perform another activity. So there might be a relationship, a hierarchy amongst these program activities. The names and descriptions of these activities may appear to be similar to those of project activities. As we have a project team doing some project work, here we have program team doing some program work. So they may be doing a similar kind of work, or their job titles could be very similar. But the difference is the level. They are at component level and they are at program level, right? So program level activities are actually more superior than the project level activities. However, their content, scope, and complexity are not as that of the project. For example, project risk management activities focus on risks to project execution. Now, similar kind of program risk management activities will be done here, but those will be done by the program activities. Incorporates escalated project risks and program risks, and also monitors interdependencies that affect multiple component projects. So the responsibility is higher, although the job is to some extent similar. Job title is similar. Relevant standards. The processes and tools used in project level activities can be found in the latest edition of PMBOK guide. For all practical purposes, all the projects within the program will be governed by PMBOK guide, not the standard for program management. The corresponding program activities encompass a greater number of inputs and typically broader scope, and these activities are being governed by the standard for program management. For example, results of the individual component project risk planning efforts provide input to the program risk planning effort. So what happens is, our project has identified certain number of risks. Some of the risks, project thinks that it is not relevant to him, but they might be program risk. So they will escalate those risks to the program level. Now, in program, the program risk planning team would take over those risks and consider certain other program risks, and they will plan their mitigation strategy and everything there. Risk control is performed continuously at both levels, component level, project level, and the program level. Project level risk may be escalated to the program level, as I said, and may have a cumulative effect that requires the risk to be addressed at the program level. Maybe the similar risk is there in all 5 projects under the program. So if this risk is taken over by the program manager, then the consistent mitigation steps would be taken by all the projects. So program manager will take over those risks which are common, he will mitigate those risks. This is not only true for the risk management, even for procurement. For example, there is a material which has to be procured, and that material will be required by all the projects. So all the projects will not separately procure them. They will be procured centrally by the program manager and provided to all the projects. Cross monitoring. It is important to note that program activities directly support the individual components to ensure the component activities help achieve the program objectives. The deliverables created at the project level that directly contribute to the program benefits and milestones achieved are monitored at the program level by the program manager to ensure consistency with the overall program strategy. So projects are being monitored by the program manager, and a project manager is responsible for his project. He's doing the monitoring and control of his project, but at the holistic level, program manager is being reported upon for that. Program manager consolidates all this effort and he reports upwards what all is happening in different projects and in the overall program scenario. And steering committee takes on the role of that. Management of component level activities is still handled by the project manager. Like steering committee never interferes with the work of the program manager will never micromanage the project manager or interfere in his job. He will be allowed to do whatever he feels like, until and unless he is doing something which is harming the program. Core activity. Program integration management is the core activity, as we understand. Even for the project manager, integration is core. And in program, it is naturally core because everything has to be integrated and consolidated here. That occurs across entire program life cycle. It includes the activities needed to identify, define, combine, unify, and coordinate multiple components into the program. Throughout the program integration activities, there are numerous interactions with other program performance domains. It is not only the so many projects and components which are being coordinated. This is so many different domains which are being coordinated. The governance, strategic alignment, and all that, everything is being coordinated. And within every component, then we have got the whole plethora of risk management, cost management, schedule management, scope management, all that. So this is complicated. Integration activities, what are they? So in this section, we'll talk about various integration activities. Program infrastructure development, that is one. Program delivery management, program performance monitoring and control, benefit sustainment and program transition, and program closeout. These are some of the activities which are performed to do the program integration. For example, support infrastructure. Program infrastructure development is performed to investigate, assess, and plan the support structure that will assist the program in achieving its goals. This activity is initiated in the program definition phase and may be repeated again at any time during the program lifecycle in order to update or modify the infrastructure. So this is the infrastructure development. The primary purpose of this program infrastructure development is twofold. Number one, it establishes both the management and technical resources of the program and its components. This infrastructure refers to both personnel and to program specific tools, facilities and finances used to manage the program. So basically this is putting all resources and all tools together. Our infrastructure is established. Program management core team. Although the program manager is assigned during program definition, the program management core team is designated as part of establishing the program infrastructure. So once we have done that infrastructure thing, we as a result get the infrastructure, which has people, which has things, which has resources. The core team members may not necessarily be assigned full-time to the program. However, these key stakeholders are instrumental in determining and developing the program's infrastructure requirements. PMO. For many programs, the program management office is a core part of the program infrastructure. And that, if said, means that this PMO is within the program. This PMO is within the program, right? So that's why it is core program infrastructure. It supports the management and coordination of the program and the component work. PMO also establishes consistent policy, standard training for programs in the organization. Another key element like PMO is PMIS, that is Project Management Information System. This is like an automated system, how the information about the whole program will roam around, how will it move. So we have got many applications nowadays which do the content management, which do the communication and all that. So maybe your mobile apps are used for that purpose, or softwares are tool. Our PMIs consist of tools used to collect, integrate and communicate information critical to the effective management of one or more organizational programs. What a PMIS should include: there could be a software tool, there could be documents, data or knowledge repositories, configuration management tools, change management system, risk databases and analysis tools, financial management systems, earned value management activities and tools, requirement management.
Sir, your voice is breaking.
Ji?
Sirji?
Ji?
Your voice is breaking, sir.
Okay. Are we on the same slide?
You are in PM Project Management Information System incorporates, right?
Can you read it?
Yeah, an effective PMI incorporates the following.
Right. So these are various tools of PMIS. Rather, I would say all of this put together is the PMIS. This could be one tool. This could be many tools. They could be all electronic or digital, or they could be mix of physical tools and electronic tools. But this is a mechanism, a system within an organization through which we can manage a lot of information about the programs. Even in projects, we do use the PMIS. There it is called Project Management Information System. Here we may call it Program Management Information System. Resources and cost. These resources are separate and distinct from the resources required to manage the individual components within the program. As I said, how will we do it? Project managers will be responsible for procuring their own resources, all right. But if there are some common resources required by all the project, that is something program manager should take on the responsibility. As if uh, they could be procured from the same source at a uniform price, at a consistent rate, and all that. So, program manager plays a role there. Deliver capabilities. Program delivery management includes the management, oversight, integration, and optimization of the program components that will deliver the capabilities and benefits required for the organization to realize value. These activities are performed throughout the program delivery phase and relate to the initiation, change, transition, and closure of the program components. So these are delivery capabilities. Then we move on to during the delivery, various components, projects, sub-programs, program activities, they have to be initiated. So those initiations or closures, naturally, they are also part of program activities. It is typically the role of the program manager to present a request to initiate a new component of project. This request is evaluated by the program steering committee against the organization approved selection criteria. Decision is made utilizing the governance function on whether the component should be initiated or not. But who initiates? This is because this is part of the program, steering committee is checking for the governance point of view. And they allow that, yes, of course, you can start this project. But who will write and sign the charter for the project? That is the program manager. Redefine priorities. If the component is approved, the program manager may need to redefine the priorities of existing program components to ensure optimal resource allocation and management of interdependency. If that be the case, program manager may put up a case to the steering committee that I need to change my strategy, I need to change the components, or change the planning of the component, and somehow that will again go through the governance mechanism and ultimately be allowed. Component initiation may be delayed or accelerated or defined by the program team and its need during the and you have to keep your governance board abreast about it. During the course of program delivery, change requests that fall within the program manager's authority level will be approved or rejected to manage performance and any changes to the program management plan. So there is a level of autonomy with the program manager. Beyond that, if any permission is to be sought, case would be taken up to the steering committee. As the program components reach the end of their respective life cycle, or as planned program level milestones are achieved, the program manager collaborates with the customer or sponsor to present a request to close or transition the component. This formal request is sent to the program steering committee for review and approval. Then are the component transitions. The process of component transition includes making updates to the program roadmap. These updates reflect both go, no-go decisions and approved change requests that affect the high-level milestones, scope, or timing of major stages scheduled throughout the program. Monitoring and control activities. Monitoring and controlling activities are performed by both program at the program level and project at the project level during the delivery management. These activities include collecting, measuring, disseminating performance information to track progress against the program objective and assess overall program trends. So this is the program level responsibility, but project level responsibility is also there. Project managers are looking at the monitoring and control from that perspective, and program manager is looking at the monitoring and control from the program perspective. Continuous monitoring gives the program management team insight into the current health of the program. Current health of the program. How? By looking into the projects, the components, and identifies areas that require special attention. Monitoring activities determine if and when controlling activities such as corrective or preventive actions are needed to bring the program back on alignment with the strategic priorities. Based on thresholds authorized by the program governance, naturally, the level of autonomy given to the program manager, up to that level, this is the threshold established for the program manager. Anything beyond that threshold, it has to be taken to the steering committee. Request to exercise corrective or preventive action in addition to adaptive change may be approved by the component or program level when the request exceeds the established program level threshold. If it exceeds, then it has to go to the steering committee for approval. Typical outputs of this ongoing activity include program performance reports and forecasts. Then comes the summary of progress. Program performance reports include a summary of progress of all program components. So basically, all the progresses of various components are consolidated into the program, and overall program progress report is created. They describe whether the program's goals will be met and benefits will be successfully delivered according to the plan. Then we come over to the reports. These reports generally provide current status information about what work has been accomplished, especially milestones and phase gates, what work remains to be completed, what earned value calculations, and risk, issue, and change under consideration. Based on this analysis, we conduct the forecast. Forecast enables the program manager and other key stakeholders to assess the likelihood of achieving the planned outcomes and to provide predictions of the program future state based on the current information and knowledge available. So you can interpolate and guess how the things will turn out. So you can do some kind of forecasting. Then benefit sustainment and program transition. Here, benefit sustainment. Some program components produce immediate benefits, while others require a hand-off or transition to another organization. In order for the ongoing benefit to be realized, this has to be transitioned. And after it is transitioned, how would the party taking these benefits over, how would they behave? So benefit sustainment may be achieved through operations or maintenance or new project or other initiatives and efforts, but this benefit sustainment plan has to be provided by the program. This activity transcends the scope of individual program component. This is beyond that, since this work is typically performed as the program is closed. During this subphase, the stewardship of the sustaining of benefits may need to be transitioned to another organization, entity, or subsequent program. Now, at closeout, program is closed either because the program charter has been fulfilled or due to internal and external conditions which has arisen that bring the program to an early end. These conditions may include change in business case that is no longer make the program necessary, or a determination that expected benefits cannot be achieved. During closeout, benefits may have been fully realized, or they may continue to be realized and managed as part of the organizational operation. So, for them, we create the sustainment plan. Successful completion of the program is judged against the approved business case, actual program outcomes, and the current goals and strategic objectives of the organization. All components should be completed and cancelled, and all contracts should be formally closed before the program itself is closed. Just like projects, we cannot close a project until all the contracts have been closed and all the liabilities have been closed. Here also, in program, we cannot close the program until and unless everything has been taken care of. Once these criteria have been met, the program will receive formal closure acceptance from the program steering committee. Then is a final program report. As part of the program governance plan, a final program report may be required to document critical information that can be applied to improve the success of future programs and component projects. So this final report will usually be composed of these things: financial and performance assessment, lessons learned, successes and failures, identified areas for improvement, risk management outcomes, unforeseen risks, customer sign off, reason for program closeout, history of all baselines, and archive plan for program documentation. As far as knowledge transfer is concerned, upon program completion, knowledge transfer is performed when the program management team assesses the program's performance and shares lessons learned with the organization. The final program report may also be updated with this information. Lessons learned should be readily accessible to any existing or future program to facilitate continuous learning and avoid similar pitfalls encountered in other programs. The knowledge transfer also supplements benefit sustainment by providing the new supporting organization with any relevant documentation, training, or material. Then there are resources released. As we understand, the job is done, program is being closed, all the resources have to be released. It is important to ensure that program resources are appropriately released as the program is being closed. This may involve the reallocation or reassignment of team members and funding to other initiatives or programs. Reassignment of resources at the component level could include transitioning resources to another component already in execution or another program within the organization that requires a similar skill set. Table 7.1, here it is. It shows the program management life cycle, 3 major phases to the program supporting activities discussed in chapter 8. We'll talk about that in chapter 8. Although these supporting activities occur throughout the program life cycle, each activity is mapped where most of the work takes place. Informal pre-planning exercises may take place in earlier phases for each consideration. So just have a look at it. In 3 columns, we have got the program life cycle. First is the program definition, then delivery, and then closure, and then all of the 9-10 program activities which we just explained. Then they are mentioned here, the areas are mentioned here, and then the program activities are shown against them. As far as the change management is concerned, what are the program definition activities in change management? That is change assessment and change management planning for the program. In program delivery, we have program change monitoring and control. This is just like we have the processes in PMBOK. So these are only integration processes. All of these are only integration processes. We are not talking about other processes. And basically, those integration processes are actually include all of the other processes. Like communication, program communication assessment is done, program communication plan is created. In definition and in delivery, we have program information distribution and reporting. There is nothing in closure. Financial, we have got initial cost estimation for the program cost estimation, program financial framework establishment, program financial management planning. And in program delivery, we have program cost budgeting, component cost estimation, program financial monitoring and control, and program financial closure. In the closure, in information management, we have program information management planning. In delivery, we have lessons learned, and closure, we have program information archiving and transition. For procurement, in definition, we have program procurement assessment, program procurement management plan. In delivery, we have got program contract administration, and in closure, we have program procurement closure. Quality, we have quality assessment and quality management planning. In definition, we have quality control in program delivery. Resource management, we have resource requirement estimation and requirement management plan in definition, and resource interdependency management in delivery, and program resource transition employer. Then we have risk, initial risk assessment and risk management planning during definition, risk monitoring and controlling, risk identification, risk analysis, risk response planning in program delivery, and risk transition program risk transition in program closure. As far as schedule is concerned, schedule assessment and schedule management planning in definition, and schedule monitoring and control in delivery. Scope assessment and scope management plan in definition, and scope monitoring and control is in delivery. So how many processes we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19 processes in program definition. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 in delivery, 19, 16. And then we have in program closure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. So we have 19, 16, and 5. There are 40 processes in total. Although not like PMBOK, we are not going to be talking in a lot of detail about each one of them. No inputs, no outputs, no tools and techniques. Just simply, these are the processes. And in the last chapter, 8th chapter, we will be talking about each of these processes. Naturally, not a lot of detail. Not like PMBOK. Right. So this brings us to the end of this chapter. So we are moving fast today. Gee, any comments? We are left with only one chapter now. What do you think? Do you want to take on some test? Which area you want?
Sir, not today. Can we take exam next, maybe next week?
Yes, of course. We will have ample time.
I'm planning. I have some work. I have to leave. Okay. I cannot take it today. You're not doing classes on 15th, right? Only 15th or 16th too?
No, 16th we will have class. 15th I am busy elsewhere.
Okay.
Okay, no problem.
So we will have a class on 16th.
Okay.
Then
Inshallah, sir. Okay.
Okay, ji. I think we should call it a day. You also have to go somewhere. I also have to go somewhere. So let's call quits today. We are only having one chapter. We'll do that. We'll do a lot of questions after that. So we have got 3 classes. We don't have any difficulty. We are very well done. We have done the whole course very conveniently. Thank you very much for all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, sir.
Take care.